Hello, I'm Rowland Warren, President and CEO of CareNet. By now, many of you have probably seen the latest undercover video which exposes Planned Parenthood's grisly practices. Just to bring you up to date, there's an organization called the Center for Medical Progress that did a video that exposed really a conversation that Planned Parenthood's Senior Director of Medical Services, Dr. Deborah Nicotola, was having with someone who was posing as being interested in buying human body parts. And basically the conversation is about how Planned Parenthood's procedures can be sort of changed in a way so that they can harvest body parts, hearts and lungs and other parts of aborted fetuses, and then sell those parts to organizations that are in the business of providing those parts to other organizations. Now, there's an investigation that's going to go on in terms of the legality of this particular procedure, and there's a lot that's been written about this. And, I'm not going to focus on the legality, but there are 3 points that I would really like to talk about. The first one is, for years, Planned Parenthood has had a mantra, which has been this sort of my body, my choice mantra, to really justify providing abortions for women and for killing unborn babies. And this video really sort of exposes the flaw in that particular thinking. You see, Planned Parenthood is taking aborted fetuses and they're harvesting hearts and lungs and livers and other organs. And there's not a woman that has 2 hearts or 4 lungs or 2 livers. So it's clear here that we're not really talking about her body at all. And therefore, we're not really talking about her choice. What we're talking about here is the body of someone else who has no choice and no say in terms of what happens to them. And that brings me really to my second point, that really we're selling someone else's body. Now, I'm a black man, and I come from a long legacy of folks that understand what it feels like and what it's like when your body is sold to profit, for profit of someone else. And this really is very, very similar in a lot of ways to what happens with slavery. It's very similar to what happened during the Holocaust, where the Nazis were basically harvesting Jewish people in different aspects of their body and using it ostensibly for scientific research. And that research that came out of that, we repudiated that. We don't even use it because of the nature of how that research was done. And so, whether this is legal or not, there still is a morality issue that we're talking about here. That when you're making money off of taking someone's life, and then you're harvesting that person's body parts to sell to someone else, there's an issue there, and there's an immorality there, which I think is really important to discuss. The third thing really is that Cecile Richards, Planned Parenthood's CEO and president, basically came out with a video to sort of try to dismiss the entire matter. And the only act of contrition in that entire video was really her sort of apologizing for the tone of the doctor, but not really apologizing for the actions of the doctor and for the actions of Planned Parenthood. So they should have used a better tone, and she actually used the word be more compassionate. But when you think about that, well, why would you be compassionate when you're talking about tissue, which is what they're saying this whole thing is about? And I hate to think about it this way, but I remember when I watched the video, what came to mind to me was it was almost like if you saw someone who was in the that was in the business of selling beef or something like that, and there was someone who was buying beef, and they're having a discussion about where could we get the best sirloin, or the best this, or where can we source that. And it was the same kind of conversation. And if you videotape that conversation, would anybody be having any conversations about the tone of which they were talking about these body parts? No. See, the reason why the tone is an issue is because of the nature of what was done here. Tone only matters if you're dealing with people, and that's really what the issue is, and that's a part of the reality of this, which they refuse to really acknowledge. As I close up here, the one thing that also came to mind was that even though we're talking about flesh and blood, our battle is not about flesh and blood, and it's very easy to have really some really strong feelings for the folks at Planned Parenthood who are a part of this. And I think it is important for us certainly to have a righteous indignation about what's happening here in terms of protecting the unborn and protecting the vulnerable. But the reality is that we've got to pray for those who are doing these kinds of things. And the more I thought about this, I was reminded of Paul on the road to Damascus and how that light, right, came out of the sky, blinded him so that he was able to see. And I guess my hope and my prayer here is that this doctor who was part of this, that as she watches herself on video and as other folks at Planned Parenthood watch this video, that they will be blinded, so to speak, so that they can see again, so that this will give them an opportunity to see what they're doing and that they can be released from this. So for all of us who find what happened here just absolutely unacceptable and just the kind of thing that no one ever should be a part of, we still need to be praying because there's an opportunity here for transformation, for folks to be renewed in their minds, even in the midst of the situation that they've been involved in. Thank you very much for listening.